Welcome to Papa's Workshop. Today I'm building a bathroom vanity that is a modern contemporary design. Now this is part one of a two-part series. Today I'm going to build the cabinet itself, and then in part two I'm going to build the drawers. Now a lot of people have asked me to do this video, so I finally got the opportunity to be able to do it. My son's ready to have this vanity installed in his home. So follow along on this journey with me today. So let's get started. To begin making this vanity, I want to start with the legs. The legs are going to be the cornerstone of the entire cabinet, so it's good to get that built first. Now these legs are going to be 2.5 inches square, and they're going to be 34 inches tall. And the reason for the 34 inches is the vanity top is actually 2 inches thick. That means that the overall height is going to be 36 inches. Now I also need to cut the feet for these legs, and those are going to be 2.5 inches square, and of course I need 4 of those. Here's a quick look at all of the parts needed to be able to make the legs. I'm making these legs exactly the same way that I made the legs for my simple CNC table. Now I'll put a link up above to be able to refer you to that video to show you some details on how these legs are made. Now I have the blade height set for 3/8 of an inch, and I'm running all of these pieces through, and I'm creating a rabbet on this so that these pieces will all slip together. Once I have them all cut this way, then I change the height of the blade to 3/4 of an inch, and I adjust it so that I can make my second cut, and I rotate the board to 90 degrees and run it through, and that will complete the rabbet joint itself. Now to put this together, we take the one piece that I have the rabbet joint on, and then I take 2 of the other pieces that are just simply ripped. They'll go right into that rabbet. And then my last piece will go on top. And this is my foot that goes right into the end. And that goes just like that. So this creates the leg for my cabinet now. So I'm going to go ahead and glue and nail these together. And then I'll round them off and prepare them for paint, because I'm going to paint this before I move ahead. The glue that I'm using is the Titebond original glue. I want to use a good amount of glue for this to be able to cover all of the surface area of this rabbet joint, and that will create a good tight bond. Now I check the alignment to make sure that everything's in exactly where it needs to be, and then I'm going to use a staple. Now this is a 18 gauge 1-inch staple that I have in my nail gun, and that will hold this in place while the glue dries. After I have the leg completely glued and nailed together, then I go ahead and put this little bottom cap in for the foot of the leg. And once that's in position, I'll go ahead and use the staple gun and nail that in as well. And that completes the construction of the leg. I've got 3 more to make, and then I'm going to grab the router and we'll round over the edges. In my trim router, I have the 1/4 inch roundover bit, and I've used this before for the legs on my last table that I made, and this works really well. So I'm going to use that to round over all of the edges on the legs, including the bottom with the foot. Using the trim router in this manner, it actually goes very quick and it's easy. This is a perfect size router to be able to hold and do this type of an operation. So after just a few minutes, I've got all 4 of the legs completed with this round over bit. And this really does add a nice touch to the leg. It's a lot better than just having that square corner. So after a good sanding, it's time to go ahead and fill all of the edges and fill those staple holes as well. I want to be able to have this as smooth as I can possibly get it. So I'm using some lightweight spackling compound, and I'm filling all of the edge grain as well as any imperfections that I see in the wood itself. And after this completely dries, then I'm going to sand it one more time, and that will leave a nice smooth finish. The next step in this whole process is cutting out the slat boards down at the bottom of the cabinet, and also I'm cutting out the face frame. Now the material that I'm using for this is a 1x12, and this is the premium pine, and that will give a good solid wood face to the cabinet as well as to the rack down at the very bottom. Next, I'm cutting all of the slats that go on that little shelf at the bottom of the cabinet. Now these are 2 inches wide, and they're 18 3/4 inches long. And I'm going to cut 8 of these for that shelf at the very bottom of the cabinet. And while I was cutting out all the material for the shelf at the bottom, I went ahead and cut all the material for the face frame itself that will hold the drawers, and then a good sanding over everything. Okay, here is everything that's cut out and it's ready to be able to be assembled. So in essence, what I did is created a kit with all the parts cut to length, and now all I have to be able to do is assemble it. Before I assemble my vanity kit, if you will, I wanted to be able to finish all of the parts. I think it will be a lot easier to be able to finish the parts now rather than trying to do that once it's all put together, especially for that shelf at the bottom with those slats. It would be almost impossible to be able to get a good quality finish on it. So this is the process that I'm using. I have a white paint that I'm putting down as the undercoat, and I'm rubbing this on with just an old rag, and then I'm wiping off the excess paint. I want to be able to have this where it's smooth, and I also want to have it where it's virtually dry, and you can see the wood grain through the white paint. Then I take the dark paint, and this is a dark gray, and this complements the wall color and the tile that's in the bathroom. And I take a separate rag, and I'm going to apply this paint just very sparingly over this surface. And I'm going to take and rub and blend this in until I get the desired effect that I'm looking for. Now I want a weathered look. I want to be able to have a little bit of the white showing through, and I also want to be able to see the wood grain underneath. So this takes just a little bit of rubbing and blending of the colors to be able to get that effect. I really like this look, and I've noticed a lot of the modern furniture that's being made nowadays has this type of finish on it. I really like it. To finish the leg of the cabinet, you use the exact same process. The nice thing about it, with the sanding that I did and using that spackling compound, the edge grain really disappears. You're not going to be able to see it at all. This white paint is a really good base coat that goes down, and then when you put the gray onto it, it blends in nicely, and I really like the effect of this. So this leg is almost done, and if you look at it, it gives the exact look that I'm wanting to have, where that white showing through and you can't see the edge grain at all. I've completed now the finish on all of the parts for this whole entire cabinet. So I'm going to give this a chance to dry overnight, and then I'm going to start assembling it To begin the assembly of this vanity, I want to put the side panels on first. I'm going to build my left and my right side panels, and I'm going to use the pocket hole screws to be able to attach it and hold it together. Now this is the side panel that I'm working on right now, and I'm laying out exactly where I want the pocket hole screws to go. Once I have all of the locations marked where I want to put the pocket holes, I'll take the square and just transfer that information to both sides of the board. Now I use the pocket hole jig to be able to drill all the pocket holes. With the alignment lines drawn onto this side panel, it makes being able to align these holes very easily, and it makes it consistent from this side to the other side. It'll be exactly the same. I designed this so that the side panel is recessed back onto this leg by 3/4 of an inch. That way I can take just a couple of scrap pieces of the 3/4 inch plywood and lay it down, and my alignment is perfect. Then I go ahead and put the legs in place, and I'm going to clamp this down so it holds nice and tight, exactly in position, and then I'll just screw it in place. By arranging this material this way, it makes it where it's easy to assemble it, especially when you're working by yourself. Once everything is aligned and clamped down, it's literally hands-free. There's nothing that's going to move, and I can easily screw in all of the pocket hole screws. Now I'm going to be making two panels like this. It'll be a left and a right, but basically the panels are identical. The next part that I want to put in is the back. Now I have both of my side panels completed, and they're standing on end, and I put my back panel in position and then clamped it. Again, this makes it where it's hand-free, and I can go ahead and use the pocket hole screws and screw this into position. The next thing I want to put in is the cross member to be able to support that slat board at the bottom. Now you notice a lot of times I don't use the tape measure. What I'm doing here is just measuring up 2 inches from the bottom, because this board is 2 inches, and that's going to give me the perfect alignment, and I don't need a tape measure. Now that I have the position marked, I'm just going to take my pencil and my square and draw my line across so that I'll be perfectly straight and square. Now to attach this, I'm using the same method I've used before. I'm taking my 3/4 inch piece of plywood, and that's going to act as my spacer. And then I'll take the board and just slip it directly into position using the marks that I had put on the legs and the spacers for it to rest on. Once I have it aligned and in position, I'm going to go ahead and be able to use the pocket holes and screw it in. Now I'm going to use the clamps again, like I have done before, to be able to hold this so nothing moves. Again, I want to be able to do this where as much hands-free as I possibly can. Putting in this front member is actually even easier, because I take a couple of these slat boards, that gives me my alignment, and I can just set that right in place. And then I take another slat, and that's going to give me the exact distance. I don't need to worry about the setback this time, because I'm going to use the slat itself to be able to hold it. And that will keep it exactly where it needs to be. And now I have it exactly where it needs to be. I'm going to go ahead and put the clamp on it just to make sure that it doesn't move, and then screw it into place. Okay, now that I've got this bottom end, I need to be able to have the correct spacing between each of these. Now I've got 8 of these strips, but I've got 7 openings. Now the easiest way to be able to get the absolute perfect even spacing is just go ahead and we're going to put all of these together. By doing that, I now have all of my gaps in one area. And I can take the tape measure and measure that, and that is exactly 13 1/8 of an inch. Now I need 7 gaps. So let me show you how I do that. A real easy, simple trick to be able to do it, and it's virtually no math. Now what I've done is grab a scrap piece of plywood, and I'm going to measure over from the corner my 13 1/8 of an inch. And I put a mark there. And I'm just going to go ahead and draw that line the way you see it here. Now then, I need something that's easy to be able to measure that I can divide by 7. And the easiest measurement would be 14. 14 divided by the 7 basically is 2 inches. But by putting this at this very top corner and bringing this down to 14, so that's right there. This is right on my 14. I'm taking this 13 1/8 inch and I'm dividing that now into 7 equal parts. There's 2 inches. There's 2 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches, and so on, all the way down. Really, all I need is 1. I can measure from this end, and I can know that that is just over 1 7/8 of an inch. So this is one time where the millimeters actually comes in handy, and that is going to be 48 millimeters is how wide that needs to be. I'm going to go ahead and set up the table saw and cut a little 2 blocks that are 48 millimeters. And then I've got my 2 spacer blocks. I can go ahead and shoot in these slats. Now this is where the blocks become important, because we'll have that there. That will slide right over. This is aligned with the front edge. It's aligned on the back as well. And then I'll shoot this one in. And I'll repeat this process now all the way across. Okay. And just to verify, yes, it does fit. Can't beat that. That is absolutely perfect. Let's go ahead and get this one shot into place. Now I don't need to, but that sits right in there, just perfect. But really all I need to do is just nail this one in position. But I wanted to show you that these are evenly spaced all the way across. These blocks are perfect, and the method to be able to get the even spacing is so easy, and I wanted to show you that. Using the slats like this in a modern cabinet is very, very common. The problem that most people have is that it's very difficult to be able to get the spacing accurate. Well, to be able to use the method that I showed you with this scrap piece of plywood and to be able to divide it evenly makes it so simple, and it's virtually no math. And once you have the proper distance, being able to cut these little blocks on the table saw made it perfect. They become the spacer, and it's exactly the correct space. So from there, all you have to do is just slide the blocks in, nail it in position, and you're done. No worrying, no guesswork, no having to redo over and over. So I hope this tip helped you as we put this cabinet together. Now this cabinet is going into a small bathroom, and in this bathroom, this is not going to be a freestanding cabinet, even though it really looks like one. What I have to be able to do, this is going to be a wall right here. I need to have a little spacer. Now my spacer's 3/4 of an inch, and that's going to go right into this spot. The reason that that's important is that I do have the base that goes around the bottom of the wall down for the floor. And I need to make sure that these legs don't interfere with that base. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in position and nail it in. And to be able to do that, I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of spacers in, because I want that to be right there. And that piece will go right into this spot. We'll have it flush with the top edge. And this will make it where it's 3/4 of an inch back from the front edge of the and that gives me the nice pretty edge on the front that you'll be actually looking at. The only thing left to do now is to build the face frame that is going to be able to hold the drawers. Now I need to cut 2 pieces that are 8 inches long, and then I will also need 2 pieces that are 10 inches long. The other part I've already got cut, and those were 29 inches. To install this face frame, I'm going to use the same method that I have used already. I'm going to take 1 piece of scrap block, and this is going to create my spacer. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my 8-inch piece that I cut, and I'm going to slip that right into position. Now I have the top cross member in place right now just for the alignment from the top, because that's actually 3/4 of an inch down. But again, not using the tape measure, that creates the perfect alignment. Now that I have it in position, I just go ahead and nail it. And at this point, I can go ahead and nail this top cross member into position as well. The next piece is real easy. It just slips in to the bottom of my 8-inch piece. And then I nail it into position, and it's done. Next, I'll take my 2 10-inch pieces, and I'll install those the same way. I'm just going to go ahead and use my alignment block and make sure that I am completely plumb and 3/4 of an inch set back. Once I have it in position, I just nail it into place. And then I'll repeat the process on the other side and put the 10-inch piece in there. A quick check for my alignment to make sure that I have that piece exactly where it needs to be. Once I've verified it, then I can just hold it in place and go ahead and nail it in. And the last thing to do is take my bottom cross member and put it into place and nail it in. Now on the photo that my son gave me, it actually had 2 drawers on this bottom section. And originally I was planning on just making it 1 big drawer, but I decided to go ahead and follow the photo that he gave me and put this divider in it and make 2 drawers here. Now you also see that I'm using a stick for my measurement. I oftentimes will realize that I can get more accurate measurements using my stick than I can a tape measure. And like I've done throughout this entire build, I'll use the clamps to be able to hold everything in place and then be able to nail it. So with this last piece now nailed in, this completes the basic cabinet build. The next thing I want to be able to do is touch up the paint job. I want to be able to stain the ends of these boards, and to be able to do that, all I need to do is just start out with the white paint, and I can just put it right onto the end grain. And I'm not really worried at all about having this paint get onto the other surfaces of the material that's already finished, because I will be able to blend all of this together. And that's one of the nice things about this type of a finish. It's very easy to work with. Now the next step that I want to do is go ahead and put some of the white paint across all the way along this bottom. What this is going to do is give me a wet surface to be able to come back and add the gray and blend it all together and make it look like one piece. And the gray makes it where it blends in really nice. And this also gives me the chance too to touch up some of the individual slats. Really didn't like the way that one looked compared to the other ones. So I can just add a little bit more gray to it, and it blends in really nice as it's compared to the other ones. So this only took just a couple minutes to be able to do, and I like the look of this. This is a really nice effect. And what makes this even better, it's real easy to do. And I hope that you take the opportunity perhaps to do this on one of your projects, because I think that you'll find it a very easy type of finish to be able to accomplish with very professional look. Hi everyone, thank you for watching my video today. If you like the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and the little bell next to it so you'll be notified on the different videos that I upload. Also, check out the videos over here to be able to stay up to date on the happenings in my shop. So again, thank you for watching my videos.